think we should be all right. Hopefully. Yeah. Cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Give me just a couple seconds to make sure that the live stream is actually up and running. This is the typical live stream tradition. First few like seconds or so are just me fumbling around making sure that the stream is actually running. Just 1 second. Oops, that was bad echo. Okay, yeah, got the chat up. What's up, Snailium? I'm loving it. What's up? In Mato, you said, why do you stream at these times? Dude, it's just because, like, all throughout the day I'm at school. And then after I do my homework and, like, go to jujitsu and stuff, I get back home and it's super late at night and I'm like, well, I still want to post something. And then it just happens to be this time is like the only time I can post stuff. What's up, Hunter Grandmaster? Yeah, sleep is important. It is important, bro. Whip can't game. What's up? What's up, Crawler? You said bro sleep schedule must be upside down. That's hilarious. Strax, what's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. So today's live stream is going to be a pretty fun one. Today we are talking about full potential Meruem and going in detail about like how powerful Meruem would have been if he never died. So this is actually like a prequel video to a video that I'm working on with Restless Gambler. He's pretty fast about like uploading videos. Like the video that is going to be on his channel is just power scaling normal Meruem and post-Rose Meruem and like going into detail about how strong they are. So that'll come out like within a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. I'm not exactly sure when he's planning on posting it, but pretty soon. So yeah, this is like a prequel to that one. This video we're mainly talking about like why Meruem is so cracked and then how strong he could have become if he never died. So make sure to check out Restless Gambler's channel and sub to Restless Gambler. He's got great content. If you like my videos, you'll very likely also enjoy his. Roxa said, yo, what do you use to edit your manga panels? I use Photoshop. Like if you mean to like make thumbnails. Yeah, I use Photoshop. But all right, let's get into some of this scaling. So like for this one, I have a few, really this one is like a bunch of different points that I have for like how powerful he would have become. So I'll go through all of those. And I'm thinking like at certain points throughout like the discussion, I'll pause and like look through the comments and reply to you guys. So don't feel bad if I don't reply right away. Like if I'm in the middle of like analyzing some stuff and I missed your comment, don't feel bad. And another thing to keep in mind is like when the streams are done afterwards, I go back and watch them and like read all the comments again. So even if I don't like verbally say something to your comment here, just know that I will like almost guaranteed read it eventually. Okay. Neo, what's up, bro? Welcome to the stream. All right. So let's get into it. So Meruem from the very beginning was just fundamentally different. Okay. So first off, we're introduced to the Queen Chimera Ant and her entire mission in life, like her entire reason for being alive was to give birth to Meruem. To create like the most powerful king she possibly could. That was the entire like reason for her existence. Okay, and this is just a quick review on the hierarchy of Chimera ants. The bottom of the ladder is peon ants, then it goes up to officer ants like characters like Ramot. Then you get up to squadron leaders, which are characters like Zazan. Then you have the royal guards, which are like Poof, Pito, and Yuppie. And then the hierarchy changes once Meruem's born because Meruem becomes like Meruem and the Royal Guard branch off and become their own hierarchy. But this is just to give you guys an idea of like the different categories of ants because I'll talk about them as we go along. It helps you to better understand like why Meruem's not only different like to the cast of Hunter x Hunter, but different like amongst his own species. He's fundamentally different. So with the first Chimera ants that we see her create, These ones, like all of the ones that you see on screen, none of these had any humans in the mix. They were created from just like random animals and bats and like fish that the queen chimera ant was eating off the shore of this island. And she was able to create like hordes of peon ants just from eating like non-human beasts, right? She's able to create a lot from like not that much food, and was able to create tons of chimera ants without like adding humans into the mix yet. And the manga actually gives us more detail about like how the chimera ants were made. If you look at the panel on the left, it says that the queen would lay 1 to 5 eggs per meal. So like every time she would have a meal, she's giving birth to large numbers of like chimera ant soldiers. Then the first humans that she ever eats, like on screen that she ever eats, are like the brother and sister, like children would be a better word there. And the brother, that human gets turned into Cult, the chimera ant Cult. And then the sister, she becomes a fodder chimera ant, like a peon chimera ant, but just immediately retains all of her human memories. Now, this is actually really interesting because it starts to give you an idea of like the scale difference between the different ranks of ants. So let's see. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So my theory of it, this isn't 100% confirmed, but it's implied by a couple different narrative elements throughout the series. My theory is that just about every single squadron leader and every single officer was made from one human each. One human each combined with like many different animals, many different beasts, but just one human made up each officer and each squadron leader. The reason I say that is because like the squadron leaders like Cult, when they think back to their memories, they have specific memories from just one person. So like Cult, his memories are like mainly, his human memories are mainly from this like little boy here, like the first child that, well, the first human that the queen ate. And then with Melioron, it's the same thing. Melioron has memories from being one person in the past. And he stated that Peggy was one person as well. Peggy used to be Melioron's father back when they were humans. So it's like different, based off of the chimera ants' memories, and like from what we see here too, it seems that the officers and squadron leaders were all made from one human each. Meanwhile, Meruem was made from thousands of humans. So we'll get into that. I'll show you what I mean. So what we see here is like after all of the squadron leaders were created, they were created pretty quickly. Like the Queen Chimera Ant, I believe she's introduced on chapter like 185. And then by like 2 chapters later, all the squadron leaders had already been born. And as soon as like she had them all assembled, like soon after that, she says, okay, from here on out, everything I eat will go purely to creating Meruem. And she says, like in the beginning of this, the queen says that she needs to eat 50 humans a day in order to create Meruem. And she says that Meruem is going to stand at the pinnacle of all species, not just like the pinnacle of chimera ants, the pinnacle of all species. And since the chimera ants are from the Dark Continent, that starts to give you an idea of how powerful like a true full potential Meruem would be. And as she's saying all of these things, the royal guards are already like in their cocoons, like waiting to be hatched. So like Meruem is not sharing resources with the royal guards either. Purely from this point on, when she makes this statement, this is right before Gon and Killua start going on their mission with Kite. It's like right before, like Gon and Killua are still in their like Greed Island clothes when she makes this statement. Okay. And she says, deliver me 50 humans every day. It's all going towards making a king that's going to stand at the pinnacle of all species. And also another thing that differentiated Meruem was Meruem had Nen users go into creating him as well. Like rare humans went into creating Meruem as well. That's something Meruem says when he's first born. Like, hold on, let me go towards that. He says it right here. He says he would occasionally eat rare humans like while he was being born. So like, not only did Meruem have thousands of humans go into creating him, some of them were rare humans too. Meanwhile, like officers and squadron leaders are implied to just have one human in them. Meruem had thousands. And proof of Meruem having thousands is right here. So like, at first the queen was just eating 50 humans a day to create Meruem. Then this was like a little bit, this was either right before Pito killed Kite or right after Pito killed Kite. The queen's hunger increased and she went from eating 50 humans a day to eating 250 humans a day, all for Meruem. Okay, and then you can actually calculate like how many humans went into creating Meruem, because from this point on it's 250 humans a day, and she did this every day for about a month straight. Because the day Meruem's born is at the exact same time that Gon and Killua were having when Gon and Killua were having their final battle with Knuckle and Shoot. It was like the same time. Like in the manga, it's like Gon is fighting Knuckle in his final battle with Knuckle, and then like the next page, like a couple pages after that, Meruem's born. And like Gon and Killua had their final battle with Knuckle about a month after Kite died. So you can actually do the math on that and find out how many humans went into creating Meruem. It's 250 times 30. It's about 7,500 humans went into creating Meruem. Meanwhile, the officers and squadron leaders were just getting about one. So it starts to like paint the picture like why Meruem was so fundamentally different. He literally had like thousands of times more like resources go into creating him than what went into creating the squadron leaders. And not only was it like thousands of times more, but in that mix was like Nen users as well. So like Meruem just from the jump was destined to be just on a completely different level. Now another thing I wanted to mention really quick is back here. When Pito was first born, it like shifts Ramot's perspective on life, because Ramot, when he awakened Nen, he started to act like a squadron leader. He started to say things that the squadron leaders were saying. He was starting to think that he could become a king as well. Oh, Jotaro said, "Yo, Lilo, how are you?" I'm doing good, bro. How are you doing? But yeah, Ramot started to think that he could become a king the same way that the squadron leaders were thinking. I actually think that Ramot saying that is where the theory, like, if you guys like read a lot of like Hunter x Hunter forums and stuff, there's a theory going around that like Ramot had as much potential as Zazan. I think that theory comes from the statement where Ramot awakens Nen and he says to himself, with this power I could even become a king, because it's the same thing that the squadron leaders were saying. Like, they, based off of their natural strength after the queen died, all of the squadron leaders wanted to become kings or queens based on their own natural strengths. Like Chitu wanted to be the speed king, Alligator wanted to be the glutton king, etc., etc. Ramot, when he awoke in Nen, he was saying similar things. He's like, I could be a king too. But the very next moment, Pito was born. And the moment he sees Pito, he has this statement here where he says, like, Pito was so powerful that Pito had a predestined status that could not be altered. This implies Pito was so strong at birth that even if Ramot trained his entire life, he would still be weaker than Pito, just like newborn. Like, nothing Ramot could ever do in his whole lifespan would bridge the gap. Okay? That's like how big the gap between Pito and Ramot is. Because like no amount of training would change their status. It's just Pito's on a completely different level he couldn't really fathom himself ever reaching. Now, The gap between the royal guards and Meruem, I'm not saying it's that the same exact way, but I do believe that a full potential Meruem, that's a level that a royal guard can never obtain, no matter how much they train. In a similar fashion to how Ramot can never reach Pito's level, no matter how much he trained. A full potential Meruem, I do genuinely believe there's no way Pito could ever attain that much power. Even if Pito trained every day for the rest of Pito's life, would never like even be close to what a true full potential Meruem could become. Okay. Now another thing is we see here with Pito. Pito formed a Hatsu ability the moment there was something that Pito wanted that was outside of the range of Pito's like born abilities. So like Pito was born insanely powerful to the point where like Pito decimated Kite without really taking any serious lasting damage of any kind. And Pito did that without even having a Hatsu ability, just like within, I don't even know if Pito was a full day old when Pito killed Kite. And Pito didn't have a Hatsu ability, just decimated him. And after that, Pito wanted to fix him and immediately formed a Hatsu ability to give itself the ability to do that. Okay? Seeing how Meruem's potential is on a different tier than even Pito's, it implies that Meruem might have been able to do a similar thing. Like Meruem, if you really think about Meruem's character, he was never like weaker than anyone he ever fought. Nothing was outside of the range of his physical abilities. If there was something he wanted, like strength-wise, that was outside the reach of his physical abilities, he might have done something just like Pito. He might have just spawned a Hatsu ability that would allow him to do it. That's something I've never really seen people talk about, because Meruem is born with a broken Hatsu ability. It's his aura synthesis, and we'll get to that in a few moments here and like analyze that. But the same way Pito was able to just, on a whim, spawn a Hatsu ability that gave Pito the ability to fix Kite because that's what Pito wanted to do, I think Meruem could do something similar. Like if there was something physically outside of his reach that he wanted to do physically, he might have been able to just spawn a Hatsu ability that lets him do that too. The same way Pito did. Because like Meruem's potential is on a different tier than Pito's. That's actually also backed up by the data books too. If you look at Pito's talent is a 5 out of 5, but Meruem's talent is off the charts. It's not even measurable in the data books. So that's something that's pretty interesting. Okay, we went through those. Okay, yeah. So now here's the aura synthesis. So this is like Meruem's Hatsu ability that he was born with. Anything that has aura, like any Nen user that he eats, when he eats it, he absorbs their aura and makes it his own. So adds their aura to his own, and it makes him stronger. Another thing we saw was when he absorbed Poof and Yuppie, he not only gained their aura and added it to his own like overall aura, but he he gained their Hatsu abilities as well and used them better than they did. So like the first time we see Meruem use aura synthesis, it was like at the palace. It was at this palace that he takes over and makes his own palace. He kills this like powerful hunter, and we didn't get to see what that hunter's Hatsu ability was, but maybe Meruem gained that human's Hatsu ability too and we just never saw it. But yeah, we never got to even see what the limits of Meruem's aura synthesis really was. It might have been unlimited, meaning like Meruem might have been able to just keep eating different people and gaining their Hatsu abilities and using them all better than they would, which is a fascinating concept, and it does fit someone who's destined to be like the king of all species. Like imagine if you plopped Meruem in the Dark Continent and he just slowly started eating all of the Dark Continent beasts and gaining all of their abilities. Like he truly would become just absolutely cracked. Okay, and like this aura synthesis thing where he's eating people's aura, gaining their power, like adding their aura to his own and like gaining their abilities. That's like what Post Rose Meruem really was. Like it was him just eating the aura from Poof and Yuppie and gaining their abilities and using them better than they did. Now the really crazy thing about Post Rose Meruem is like this, he wasn't even complete. He's pretty like this is actually I think Togashi was doing this as like a parallel to Cell, because like Meruem looks like Cell anyway. But if you remember Cell from Dragon Ball Z, like Imperfect Cell, he had to absorb a bunch of humans and add like their energy to his own, and it made him stronger. Then he had to eat Android 17 and Android 18, and when he did that, he became Perfect Cell. Meruem like has that same power, like whatever he's eating, it adds to his own power, makes him stronger. And he absorbed Poof, he absorbed Yuppie, and it made him Post Rose Meruem, but he never got to absorb Pito because Gon kills Pito. Okay? So like if Meruem had absorbed Pito, this is where like Meruem starts to become truly like terrifying, because if he absorbed Pito, he might have become a specialist too, because Meruem's Hatsu, like Meruem's Nen type at birth was emitter. That's what it says in the data books, is that Meruem was an emitter. And I talked about this in my last stream too. I believe the Nen user that had the most impact on like Meruem's ability, like his Hatsu type, was Pokal. Pokal was like that dude who could shoot, who would like, he was an emitter as well, and he would create like Nen arrows and fire them at people. Wait, what's his name? Pokal? Yeah, Pokal. He fought Pike and Zazon and lost, and then he gets fed to the queen. I believe that's why Meruem's face looks kind of like Pokal's face, and I also believe that's why Meruem's an emitter, like at birth he was an emitter. But the interesting thing about aura synthesis, from what we saw, like he was using Yuppie's ability and Poof's ability better than either of them did. And I don't know what Poof's Nen type was, but here's the thing that's like unknown about aura synthesis. Does he like gain 100% proficiency in that Nen type as well? It seems like he does, because he's doing it better than like the native original Nen user did. He's using their ability better than the original did. So if he eats, let's say he ate Pito, I think he would become a specialist too, which is an interesting concept. So like imagine Meruem with all this power, all this aura, and a specialist at the same time. Specialists are crazy because they pretty much break the rules of Nen, and they do things that don't really make sense. For example, to give you a perspective of like how scary specialists can be, a far less talented specialist is the fourth prince. Someone that is getting a ton of like hype in the manga, and people are like terrified of who he would become. Imagine Meruem as a specialist. Like, what kind of crazy things would he be able to do? Imagine Meruem eating the fourth prince. Gaining the fourth prince's terrifying Hatsu ability. Like the ability to like manipulate the future to a certain extent with all of this crazy aura that he has. He just starts becoming genuinely insane. And yeah, these are just panels of Meruem using like Yuppie's ability better than Yuppie did. He used Poof's ability better than Poof did as well. Like there's a scene where he's using Poof's scales and mixing them into his N. So like I think he was reading the mind. I don't know. I need to read those panels again, but like he was doing crazy stuff with Poof's scales that even Poof couldn't do originally. Okay. Now here's where we start to really understand like the limits of full potential Meruem. It's based on the Dark Continent, because if you remember, here I have this panel here. If you remember, like Meruem is designed to be the pinnacle of all species, not just the pinnacle of humans, not the pinnacle of Nen users, the pinnacle of all species. And since they're from the Dark Continent, this would imply that Meruem A full potential Meruem would be the pinnacle of the Dark Continent as well. So, to give you an idea of like how strong the Dark Continent actually was, the like intro level beasts to the Dark Continent were all like higher danger levels than the Chimera ants were. This implies that like some of the intro level beasts were even stronger than Meruem, and these are just intro level beasts. The beasts that you see on the right, these ones never got a scale. They never got a ranking. They're all unquantified. Like, we don't know like the limits to these guys' strength. The ones on the right. All we know is like these beasts were so terrifying that like Prime Netero and like an ancestor of Killua, and I think possibly an ancestor of Bisky. It was some female. We don't know who she was exactly, but like three of like the strongest humans ever, they saw this stuff and said it's way too powerful for us, and they just dipped. And one of those humans was Prime Netero. And yeah, so like all these beasts, like let me word it a little better. The beasts on the left, they're talking about 5 threats from the Dark Continent. Okay. And these are just like intro level beasts that people met on their expeditions to the Dark Continent. And like just coming into contact with them risked wiping out humanity, according to Jing. That's what this bubble, like the bottom left bubble, says. Jing says, of the 5 threats, there have been victims of I and PAP on this side already. We're lucky humanity hasn't been wiped out yet. Okay, so like one way to interpret that, like if you're highballing it, it's that each, like, so there was 5 different like intro level beasts that they encountered. Do I have their names? Yeah, I didn't get the panel listing all their names, but there's 5 intro level beasts that they encountered in the Dark Continent. One of them was like the same kind of beast that Killua's sister Nanika is. And then the other 4 were all just like terrifying and crazy. If you highball it, each of those beasts on their own is a humanity wiping threat. If you highball it, each of those beasts on their own is a humanity wiping threat. If you lowball it, then all 5 of them together would wipe out humanity. But all of that really doesn't mean much because they were just intro level beasts. Like no humans really went deep into the Dark Continent and came back. Okay. And then you see all the beasts on the right. They didn't even get a ranking for them. They don't even like this. Something that's really fascinating actually is like all the beasts on the right. This was from an undocumented trip. Like it was just Netero and like 2 of his buddies going there. And this trip was undocumented. So we don't know the ranks of any of these things. But they're likely all like they might all be stronger than like the 5 threats that were already humanity wipers. And Meruem, full potential Meruem, would be such a monster that he could conquer all of this. Could eat all of these things, gain all of their powers. Like if you look at this picture on the right, you see like giant beasts getting eaten by other giant beasts. Like the giant like elephant that's getting lifted up in the sky by that giant like bug, that giant elephant might be like a Meruem level beast, bro. Like he literally might be Meruem level, just getting picked up and like eaten like fodder. But a full potential Meruem would be stronger than all of this. Would, like the queen said, would be the pinnacle of all species, meaning it would scale above all of these unscaled like monsters. Okay. Now, something that makes full potential Meruem even crazier is like you look at how terrifying the Dark Continent is. You see like all of these monsters that scale above Meruem, because even these 5 intro level beasts scale above the Chimera ants. Okay, implying that they would scale above Meruem too, just the intro level beast, and then the unscaled beasts, like the ones on the right, would be way beyond Meruem. But there's a human that went into the Dark Continent by himself. There's a human that went to the Dark Continent by himself 300 years ago and he explored the entirety of the East by himself and has survived in the Dark Continent for 300 years. And the way he survived in the Dark Continent for 300 years, like, for one, obviously he's super cracked. He's strong enough to defeat, like, tons of beasts like this. He can fight them and win and live here, like, for hundreds of years. The reason he was able to live that long, other than being super strong, is because the Dark Continent has something called longevity rice, and if you eat it, it adds like hundreds of years to your lifespan. So this dude who's been out there, he explored the entirety of the East of the Dark Continent by himself. He might still be in his prime. Okay, might still be in his prime because of the longevity rice, like just permanently like 40 years old. Even though, like, permanently looks and feels like he's about a 40-year-old Nen user, even though he's 300 plus years old. That guy's name is Don Freecss. That's Jing's ancestor. And he, narratively, is the strongest human in the entirety of Hunter x Hunter. He's not only the strongest human, he's the strongest known character. And Don Freecss is actually the author of the, like, Dark Continent books that Jing, like, reads and studies, and that a lot of people who are going on the Dark Continent trip were, like, told to read as well. So that way they, like, get an idea of, like, what the Dark Continent's like before they get there. But Don Freecss is the strongest human. Okay? Meruem, a full potential Meruem, imagine if he ate Don Freecss. Imagine if he ate Don Freecss, because Don Freecss should be so powerful. Like, to be able to survive beasts like this for hundreds of years, he would be so, like, narratively, Don Freecss would be so powerful that if he fought post-Rose Meruem, like, this Meruem who was shooting aura cannons and stuff, Don Freecss would most likely one-shot him like a fodder character. Like, think about what Adult Gone did to Pito. Don Freecss, Don from the Dark Continent, he, in theory, would do that to post-Rose Meruem. Okay, so that should give you an idea of, like, how strong Don Freecss would be. And a full potential Meruem could eat someone like Don Freecss, gain all of his power, add it to his own. Add all of the dark, like, imagine one being having all of the power of all of the different Dark Continent beasts, having all of their abilities, having Kiloa's sister's ability to just grant wishes, having all of this stuff in one being, and then eating Don Freecss as well, gaining all of the power that he acquired in living in the Dark Continent for hundreds of years, having every Nen type, having just being the most cracked being, like, in the series. That's who full potential Meruem would actually have become. And it starts to become really obvious when you consider the fact that everything Meruem did in the series, he was a baby. He was 1 month old. Imagine, well, here's something else to think about. He was 1 month old and never trained. Never tried to get physically stronger even once. Imagine, like, this Meruem eating all these beasts from the Dark Continent and, like, actually training. Just imagine how cracked he would become. It would just actually be kind of beyond imagination. He might legitimately start becoming like a low tier Dragon Ball Z character, especially when you consider, like, a highball interpretation of some of the intro level beasts is that, like, just like a singular intro level beast could wipe out humanity, and then these beasts scale way beyond that. Meruem eats all of them, it's like he very well might become a planetary being. So, like, a full potential Meruem who like eats longevity rice, conquers a Dark Continent. Imagine a Meruem that's hundreds of years old. We saw how powerful he got in just 1 month without trying, without training, without doing anything. He could be potentially thousands of times stronger than the post-Rose Meruem we saw. Like a hundreds and hundreds of year old Meruem. He really might become like a very low tier Dragon Ball Z character. Like, I had actually done a poll on that in the past. Like, I did that poll probably like 7 or 8 months ago. But a poll I did was like, who would be stronger, a full potential Meruem or first form Frieza. I still think first form Frieza would be way stronger, and that's what ended up happening on the poll. But I do think like full potential Meruem would probably be like Raditz level. He might be like a Raditz tier character. Raditz was like a planet buster in Dragon Ball Z. I think full potential Meruem might be around there, but after a certain point it is just speculation. But I mean, when you're factoring in the fact that like there's already humanity wiping threats at just the intro level of the Dark Continent, and then there's just countless beasts. There's so much uncharted territory. The Dark Continent is so big that you can be there for 300 years and not see all of it. It's like, and Meruem could eat everything there and gain all of their powers, and they have beings that can just grant any wish, and those are like intro level. It's like all that stuff together, all stacked into one being that has the biggest intellect in the series at a month old. Give him 300 years of just grinding. I really think you're dealing with like a low tier Dragon Ball Z character. That's what I think a full potential Meruem would be like. And that's actually all the slides I had. So let me scroll through some of these comments. So Kona said, can full potential Meruem aura diff people? Dude, baby Meruem was aura diffing Netero, bro. Aura diff, like, I mean, at birth, Meruem was aura diffing like the entire verse. The only character that we physically saw, because we never got to actually see Don Freecss, we don't even know what he looks like. The only character that we visibly saw have as much aura as Meruem, or potentially slightly more, was Adult Gon. And that's it. And you know what's another really crazy thing is like how insane Don Freecss is. I think full potential Gon would be stronger than Don Freecss, actually. The reason I say that is because like Gon and Killua kind of like parallel each other a lot. Like the same way that Killua is the most talented Zoldyck in history, I think Gon is the most talented Freecss. So I think like Gon was destined to surpass Jing, and I think Gon was destined to surpass Don Freecss as well. But yeah. But that was pretty much everything I wanted to say about Meruem. But let me scroll through some of these comments. Let's see. And if you guys have any questions for me specifically, make sure to put like at Lilo's Adventure first in your comment, and then I'll see it more quickly. But now we're just in like the Yap session portion where I'll read your guys' comments and talk about them. So let's see. I'm just scrolling up. I see. Jotaro said he was leaving early. Have a good night, Jotaro. Let's see. Kona said, by the way, what are these random comments from Gege? Why does Kashimo randomly get upscaled? Oh yeah, that's a whole other discussion on its own. Like the comments about Kashimo. I saw that. Like I saw Gege left a statement saying that from Sukuna's perspective, the only people that he thought could challenge him were Kashimo and Gojo. But just one thing I'll say on that before I get back to Hunter x Hunter things is just because Sukuna thinks something doesn't mean it's correct, right? Because he ended up losing to Yuji and Nobara. Like the whole time he massively underestimated Yuji. Even though Yuji stated to be someone who has potential that's like on par with Sukuna's. Like Sukuna never once like really acknowledged that. So just because Sukuna doesn't think something doesn't mean it's accurate. I mean, well, just because Sukuna thinks something doesn't mean he's right. Vass said, can Chrollo beat Pito? So, the simple answer from everything he's displayed, no. But there are combinations of Hatsu abilities that if Chrollo put them all together, he might be able to squeeze out a victory. There are certain combinations of Hatsu abilities. And I want to make a video on that, so I don't want to spoil too much about that, but like if you put the right hacks abilities together, you can beat people stronger than yourself with a plan. And that's kind of proven with like Gon versus Genthru. because Gon versus Genthru was Gon fighting someone who had more aura than him and had much more battle experience, but Gon still won by using a plan. So like there's certain ways that you can overcome stat advantages in Hunter x Hunter. But I want to make a video on that in the future, so I don't want to spoil too much about that. Crawler said, bro gonna beat Goku. Yeah, I mean, like, Kid Goku, yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, the problem with Dragon Ball, though, is the scaling gets so insane so early on. Like, with Dragon Ball, Master Roshi blew up the moon on, like, chapter 60. Like, at the beginning of the story, you have a moonbuster. And then, like, Goku surpasses Roshi, like, 20 chapters later. So, like, by the time you hit, like, chapter 100, Goku's already stronger than a moonbuster. And it's like, he is a monster. It'll take a long time to surpass someone like that. Gone in the comments said, full potential Meruem is terrifying. He truly is. Sage says, why does Meruem look like that in the manga? Yeah, some of the manga characters do not look as polished as the anime version. Like, the first drawing of Pito is, like, nowhere near as good. Like, the first drawing of Pito is nowhere near as good as the anime version. There's panels where Netero's drawn, and he looks like a weak old man. But in the anime, he looks, like, strong. Pakunoda from the Phantom Troop. In the anime, she's looking like a baddie. But when she's first introduced in the manga, she looks, like, jacked up, bro. Sometimes the art can, like, fluctuate a lot in the manga. Hunter x Hunter Grandmaster said, look at my perfect form, it's perfect. That's a classic Sparking Zero quote. Kona said he will still lose to Kamugi. Imagine full potential Meruem, hundreds of years old, still just losing in Gungi to Kamugi after all those years. I'm just scrolling through the comments here. Kona said, what if Meruem eats Hisoka and gains Hisoka's personality? That would probably be detrimental for him, because then he would fight people stronger than himself and he might die. Hunter x Hunter Grandmaster said, freaky Meruem would be unstoppable. I'm just scrolling down. Okay, I'm seeing Moss said, oh wait, well hold on. Dova said Prince Camelot's Hatsu. I don't even oh wait a minute. Wasn't Camelot's Hatsu the one where she, like, could create other Nen users, and, like, if the Nen users killed people, they leveled up and became stronger? That would be a crazy power for a king to have. Moss said, if you put Phaeton in Kite's position against Pito, do you think he's losing, or does Pain Packer one-shot with the arm loss? I think Pito would survive it. I think Pito would just kill him, like, while he's charging up Pain Packer. Or if Pito's, like, curiosity got the better of Pito. That's a good question. I wonder if Nen defense can tank heat. Like, if you can just aura diff it. I don't know. Because it didn't work for Zazan. But, like, Phaeton was likely just straight up stronger than Zazan was anyway. And it was, like, so powerful that it could have one-shot multiple Phantom Troop members at once. But, like, the Royal Guards scale massively above the Phantom Troop. Like, so for example, I made a video talking about, like, how Netero would do fighting the entire Phantom Troop himself, and Pito's physical stats are higher than Netero's. So, like, Pito might be able to just tank it. And, like, if Pito wanted to, Pito would just kill Phaeton before he used Pain Packer. But it's a good question, like, in character, would Pito just let him do Pain Packer out of curiosity just to see it? If Meruem's nearby, Pito kills Phaeton immediately just to protect the king. But if Pito's just 1v1 fighting him, I think Pito would... I don't know. It's really hard to tell because we don't really see anyone use aura to just tank heat. So it's a very good question. I don't think Phaeton's winning, though. I think even if he uses Pain Packer, maybe Pito starts getting burned and then just immediately jumps out of range. because that should be something Pito's capable of doing if Pito has to. Like the moment Pito starts getting burned, just jumps out of range, might be able to heal himself with Tepsicora, and then just come back and one-shot him once Pain Packer runs out. But it's a really good question. I wonder what his max heat is actually capable of, because he said the one that like instantly one-shot Zazon was weak compared to what he's really capable of. So like that's one of the highest attack potency moves in the verse. But to put it into better perspective, I think even the maximum Pain Packer would be weaker than Netaro's Zero Hand. Probably considerably weaker than Netaro's Zero Hand. And we saw Meruem could tank it. Do you guys think Pito could tank Netaro's Zero Hand? Because low-key, I think that I low-key think if Pito got hit by Netaro's Zero Hand, Pito would probably survive but be near death. And I think that Phaeton's full power Pain Packer would be weaker than that. So it would, I mean, at absolute highest, I think it would severely damage Pito but not kill Pito. And if it doesn't kill Pito, Pito might be able to just regenerate with Tepsicora and then just kill him. But it's a good question. Kona said Togashi should write the story and let his wife draw the manga. Dude, that would be sick. I mean, I was saying it before. I think I said it in a live stream before, or maybe I was saying it in the Discord. I really like what would be perfect in my opinion is if Togashi just wrote like 500 pages, no drawings, just straight words. Wrote the rest of Hunter x Hunter as a book, and just released it as a book. And then let the animation studio Madhouse animate all of that into episodes. That would be peak, bro. Like, that would be insane. He'd be like the first mangaka to ever do that. And he could totally do that. Like, I would read every single page, like, multiple times. So I've, for years, wanted him to do that. But, I don't know. I don't know if he will ever do that. Let's see. Where was I at? So Zephyr said, you think Ziggs was the same age as Killua when he went to the Dark Continent? If so, Zig was more powerful than Killua at that age since he was going to the Dark Continent. No, I think Killua's Killua's only like 13 or 14. I don't think any other Zoldyck was as strong as Killua is at 14. I think even Kid Gon is stronger than Jing was at this age, too. I think that they're both, like, just destined to be the strongest of their bloodline. And I also think, like, that was something, I don't know if I said it in a video before. I think I have, but, Jing, I think one of the next streams I'm going to do is Full Potential Gon. So maybe I should save this point for that. But so I'll save the point I was thinking of. But like just to give you an idea of what I was thinking of, I think like the abilities that Jing has, I think Gon will develop them too. Especially if Gon spends time with Jing, like I think he'll just become more like Jing, the same way Baki becomes more like Yujiro in the Baki series. Yeah, especially since like every like outrageous task Jing left for Gon just accomplished it like almost instantly. I think Gon's meant to surpass Jing. I definitely think Gon's meant to surpass Jing. What else was here? Where was I at? Hunter x Hunter Grandmaster said Lilo with full Jujutsu mastery solos the Dark Continent. Nice. But alright guys, I think that'll be everything that I covered for today. This is actually like the fastest live stream I've ever done. Did this even hit an hour? Oh yeah, it was like 49 minutes. Usually, every time I do one of these, it takes an hour, but this one was pretty cut and dry. Okay, I'll read this one more comment from Moss. He says, do you think Kurapika is going to get the Nitro Rice? I really want him to, especially with how he's been losing lifespan, but he's shown absolutely zero interest in the Dark Continent. I do think Kurapika will eat the Longevity Rice. I think he will. because he's going to end up on the Dark Continent anyway, unless he kills the fourth prince like before they reach the island. But even if he does, let's say for example that Kurapika kills the fourth prince and gets the Scarlet Eyes back from him before they even reach the Dark Continent. If that happens, do you think Kurapika's gonna just like hop off of the boat? I think he's gonna stay on the boat and go to the Dark Continent as like part of his agreement still. I think he would still go to the Dark Continent. And quite frankly, like the more Hunter x Hunter stuff I read, the more I think that no one there is ready for the Dark Continent. To be completely honest, the only one I think that's even close to ready is Jing. Everyone else I think will die. Well, I don't know if they actually will die, but I think they should. I really think the only two that are capable of like surviving even a little while on the Dark Continent are Jing and Beyond Netero. Everyone else I think might just straight up get cooked. So like everyone who's at the Dark Continent is going to have to get a lot stronger. Quite frankly, everyone there is going to have to get a lot stronger. Because like if you go back and you read Jing's speech to Gon, he says like there's 4 things required to go to the Dark Continent. And Jing says that he currently has none of them. And I think like of the 4 categories, I don't remember what all of them were, but one of them was like qualifications. That might be implying like the strength to survive. And from Jing's perspective, I don't think even Jing thinks he's strong enough. But I really want to analyze like all of the things that made Jing accept going to the Dark Continent. Because like when he was talking to Gon, he said he didn't have any of the things needed to like make it there yet. But then like 20 chapters later, he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm going now. So I need to read that part again. Oh, Hunter x Hunter Grandmaster left a donation. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that a lot, man. He said, I'll see you, Lilo. I don't know what to say anymore. All I can do is pray for a JoJo vid. Well, anyway, I just say that you're one of the best content creators, bro, and good night. Thanks, man. I appreciate that a lot, bro. Yeah, I got to make a JoJo video soon. I've been saying that for a while. Been saying that I wanted to do Jotaro versus freaking Joseph. Yeah, I wanted to do Jotaro versus Prime Joseph Joestar. Yeah, I still want to do that. And what else was I just saying? But yeah, I think everyone there is gonna. I mean, everyone there is likely to get cooked except for Jing and Beyond. I think Jing would find a way to survive the same way his ancestor Dawn did. But yeah, I want to make the full potential Gon live stream next. I also have Kite versus Razor just written out. Like I have the whole thing written out, and I could do that at any time. But the next one I want to do, I think, is going to be Full Potential Gon, because I think he would surpass Don Freecss eventually. It just seems like he's narratively set up to. But okay, guys, that's everything for this live stream. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you'd like to continue discussing these points, make sure to hop into the Discord for this channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this live stream. But yeah, that's everything for tonight. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see ya on the next one. And sorry for anyone that I didn't read your comments. Hold on, I'll read this one more from Moss. He said, oh yeah, you were saying, what if Meruem gets Morena's game ability, but Poof has a better version with the cocoon where he just gives you a free extra Nen ability? Oh yeah, that is pretty cracked. So Meruem probably has that now too. Like the post-Rose Meruem, he might have been able to just give people Nen abilities anyway with like Poof's power. Pretty crazy. But alright guys, thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. You have a great rest of your night.